Hi everyone. So this video is a quick introduction on how to construct histograms in Google Sheets. So we're going to use a pre-constructed example and I'm going to walk you through how to do this. So to construct a histogram in Google Sheets, we need a list of raw data. So you can see here I have both a list of raw data and a frequency distribution, a grouped frequency distribution. If you are only given a grouped frequency distribution, you should work backwards to construct a raw data list that fits this frequency distribution. Meaning if I know that my class limits are 1 to 5 and that there's a frequency of 2, I should have 2 values in my list that are between 1 and 5 inclusive. Doesn't matter what they are, as long as they end up grouped in that 1 through 5 group when we go to build our histogram. So in order to build a histogram, we start with our raw data and we highlight the numbers. You will notice here that they are sorted from smallest to largest. That doesn't have to be true. Google Sheets doesn't care about the order. Once we've selected the data that we need, we click on Insert and Chart, and Google will automatically select the type of chart it thinks you want. And you will notice that here it has selected histogram chart. We can see that in the chart editor window. That is the type of graph we want, but we want to have control over how that data is grouped. We want to make sure that this histogram is grouped using the class boundaries from our frequency distribution. This first box should start at 0.5 and end at 5.5. The last box should start at 20.5 and end at 25.5. So we need to modify how Google is grouping our raw data together. To do that, we need to go to the Customize menu inside Chart Editor. And here we're going to modify a few things. You'll notice a big long list here in chart style. We can change some of the colors. Histogram, we can tell it show item divisors, and then we can tell it bucket size. For chart title and axis, we can put labels on our graph. You'll notice it defaulted to histogram of raw data. For series, we can change the color of our data. So right now it defaults to Google's blue. We don't really need to mess around with legend, but there are some data sets where there will be a legend off to the side and you can affect what that looks like. What we need are horizontal axes. So we want to affect where our grid starts and ends. Looking at our class boundary, I know that I want my smallest at 0.5 and my max at 25.5. Looking at that, I can see that Google has now changed this so that it matches my class boundaries and my class frequency. That first class is between 0.5 and 5.5 with a height of 2. The next is 5.5 to 10.5 with a height of 3. 10.5 to 15.5 correctly has a height of 6. And then we end up with 9 and 7. So to do this, again, you need a list of raw data. You highlight that raw data, and then you click Insert Chart. When you do that, two things pop up. The default graph, Google selects what it thinks you want, and then this chart editor window will pop open at the same time. In chart editor, you go to Customize to adjust the features of the chart. In setup, you can select which type of chart you want. In this case, we were lucky and it correctly guessed we want a histogram. You should, now that your histogram is complete, label those axes. So we're going to use this Edit Chart button to open that chart editor back up. We're going to go back to Customize, and we're going to go to Chart Axis Titles. So chart subtitle, horizontal axis title. If we know what data we're measuring, for example, if I know this was ages of students at a K through 14 school, I would label that here. In this case, the only thing I know is that those hash marks represent class boundaries. And the vertical axis represents frequency. So now my histogram is appropriately labeled. I have a label for my x-axis. I have a label for my y-axis. All right, so I would encourage you to take some time and play with Google Sheets, see what it can do with your data, and how to tweak that histogram. But that is the basics on how to get a histogram up and running in Google Sheets. All right, I hope that helped, and I will see you next time.